Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Boots on the Ground with the Janys. On today's episode, we will be talking about the top 6 rental locations in Singapore. How this is decided is because it's usually one of the choices of expats because of its convenience, the amenities it gives, as well as the lifestyle that these places provide even for Singaporeans who are looking, or PRs, they are looking for a place to rent. So let's dive into the locations. Now, looking at the map of Singapore, the common areas that are of interest would actually be, firstly, you have the Holland Village Bukit Timah area, Orchard River Valley, you have Newton Novena, you have Tanjong Pagar Marina Bay, the Harbourfront area, as well as East Coast. Now, this is my opinion and this is just based on my experience as an agent on what the areas of interest are. Let's dive into the locations. Before I go into detail, how I'm going to go about doing it is I would actually share about the district that I'm talking about in terms of what makes that district attractive for people to stay. Then I would follow on with kind of the average price per square foot of rent you would be paying right now to rent that space for non-landed properties, and after that I would go into one illustration of a specific condo, a particular condo in that area, and what are the current prices you would be paying to rent that condo. So let's start with District 10. District 10 actually encompasses Holland Village as well as Bukit Timah. Why is this area so attractive? Well, let's say it is a very low price and spread out area, so you have plenty of greenery, and it's also a place where you do find a lot of good class bungalows, so the entire facade is pretty low rise. You have very nice nature parks around as well. That's where you have botanic gardens, and of course it's a popular choice because there are plenty of good schools in the area. So for primary schools, you're talking about Nanyang, Fairfield Methodist, as well as Henry Park Primary School. And for the international schools, you do have UWC, West Campus, and then you have ACS International as well as Tanglin Trust. It is a great mix for families, that's why it is such a popular choice. And if my dad was here, he would say this is a very popular choice for the past 50 years for all the expats. Now that we have covered why it's attractive, let's take a look at the average rentals in District 10. So for District 10, we are looking at an average per square foot for the month of December, you're looking at $5.95, and for this month in January, it's about $5.18. If I were to take a popular condo choice here, for me I would take D'Leedon because D'Leedon is really big, so you have volume of transactions. I can see that for the month of December and January, it's mostly transacting on the high side of $5 and above. That's the kind of per square foot you would be paying to stay in D'Leedon. On to the next location, we would talk about District 9. So District 9 is actually Orchard as well as River Valley. Now, if you're looking for lifestyle, this is one of the locations that expats like to consider because in Orchard Road, this is where you have your popular shopping districts. And of course, in River Valley, you do have Robertson Quay, the area where you have the nice river beside it. You have plenty of restaurants there. There's a lot to do there in terms of lifestyle, and of course I like that, you cycle along Robertson Quay, you do realize that it's actually leading up to all the park connectors. So it's a very nice area to live and to wind down at the end of work. The nice thing here that is recently added is because you do have Great World City, the big shopping center over there, and because recently the Thomson East Coast line has been built up. In the past, especially in the River Valley side of it, it's mostly a bus area, but with the addition of TEL, the Thomson East Coast line, it's literally one stop to Orchard, so it's really convenient now. It makes that place really more attractive because in the past, as I said, it's more a bus area. Also in that specific area, you do have plenty of good schools as well. Of course, you do have River Valley Primary and you have Chatsworth International School in this area. Apart from that, if you are looking to stay in River Valley, you think that it is a little bit too expensive, for example, you could also consider somewhere like Tiong Bahru, which is very close to River Valley and Orchard, and it's also one of the popular choices for expats, although it falls in District 3. Now in this area, you do have a mix between staying with the locals, as well as you do have that whole enclave where you have all the cafes, that kind of lifestyle which I would feel is very Australian, where you have all the cafes down below the Tiong area. That area is also very attractive to expatriates, and you do have kind of a mix between how a Singaporean local live, and as well as you do have the amenities that you would get from an expatriate community as well. So that could be another area you're looking at. And because I'm talking about an area outside of District 9, maybe I will give you some examples of how much you would be paying if you stay in such areas. So for Tiong Bahru, you are looking at, if I were to take Highline Residences, which is actually in the center area of where I'm talking about, you have all these amenities with the cafes and the shopping mall behind. So you do have, I think, 3 condos there that are quite popular. So Highline Residences is one of the latest ones. You would be paying also a bit on the high side because it's actually transacting at $8 per square foot or more actually. So the average is actually at 8. But if you were to look at a condo like Central Green, which is also in the same area, but it's a slightly older condominium, not really slightly, a much older condominium, you can get, in terms of per square foot, like maybe $5 per square foot or so. So again, of course, there will be a bit of differences in prices depending on how old or how new the condo is. But because I'm not focusing on District 3, I just wanted to pick out certain spots where I think may be of interest to expats as well, because it is fairly close to River Valley and Orchard. So let's go back to Orchard area. If you're looking at the per square foot that you'll be paying on average for non-landed, you will be looking at about $6.32 for the month of January. If you were to take even a popular condo choice here for illustration, I took Rivergate because Rivergate is actually in River Valley area and it's very close to the river, and a lot of expats love the facilities there. It is also crossing $8 per square foot, so it's even higher than the average actually in Orchard and in District 9. So again, it depends on which choices you pick within the district, but yeah, the average would be $6.32. So that is for Orchard. And because just now I was covering District 10, I wanted to add on that if you actually are working in Fusionopolis, which actually falls in Buona Vista area, that is in District 5, you may consider renting places that are closer to your workspace, which is actually One North Residences as well as Rocha Residences. I think those are in the Buona Vista area. They are very, very close to Holland, so you would experience, or you can actually enjoy all the amenities in Holland. But in terms of the prices you would be paying for such a condo there, it would still also range about $5 per square foot. It's about there for both condos, so I would say it is quite comparable between Buona Vista as well as Holland, unless you are moving further away into more of the West Coast area, then you would see a slight difference in the price points. So that was one area that some expats would consider if you are working in Fusionopolis. After District 10 and 9, I'm going into District 11. This is where you have Newton and Novena. For me, is what makes it so special, right? Of course, Novena is actually the health hub of Singapore. So if you're talking about having the best specialists, that is where you would find them. And they do have plenty of enrichment programs for kids in United Square, and you do have Velocity, is a huge shopping center. This area is very characterized because for me, I feel that most of the units there, or the residential apartments there, are really high density and they are really tall. When you are driving past from maybe Orchard all the way in, you can actually see the difference in the facade. Suddenly you will see more high rises, they are more closer together. That is actually Novena and Newton. And of course, you do have the famous Newton Circus, the famous food court there that many tourists go to get their local delicacies. So that's one of the plus points there as well. And of course, most of the condos there, you can find plenty of condominiums in very close proximity to the MRT. So that is one of the plus points as well. If you're talking about the average per square foot for a non-landed apartment, you are looking at about $5.17 per square foot. For the condo choice here, let's maybe for illustration purposes, I will pick something that is like right smack at the MRT. In Novena, it's called Soleil at Sinaran. I think a lot of people know this condo. It's very prominent there. So because of maybe its proximity to the MRT, actually the average we are looking at for renting an apartment there, actually I would say maybe the middle part is actually closer to $6 per square foot actually, not really so much so at 5. But of course, if you are looking at older condos there, you know, you would be transacting at maybe closer to the $5 mark. Now that I've covered 9, 10 and 11, what's next? We will cover District 1 and 2. So District 1 and 2 is actually what is known as the Central Business District, where it's actually District 1, where you have Marina Bay, all that beautiful structures in Singapore that you see every time somebody has a video on Singapore. You would never miss this area in Singapore, so that is District 1. And District 2 is Tanjong Pagar District. It's also kind of where some of the offices are also located kind of in between this area as well as Marina Bay. These two areas form the kind of central business area district, and it's popular among expatriates who want to live very close to their workplace, so they cut down on commuting time. So of course, this area here is very special because you do have many Michelin star restaurants, but at the same time, you can also have a simple meal at Maxwell Food Centre, for example, or Lau Pa Sat, where you can have local delicacies at a cheaper price. It offers plenty of convenience for those business travellers, especially if you are one of those who are actually just in Singapore for work, and then after that, you just want to head to the airport for your overseas travel for work as well. So people usually tend to stay very close to the office so they can hop in and out quickly. Now, this area, of course, because of what I have just said, like it's so convenient, it's a popular option among all the business people. In District 1, you have an average of per square foot rent here for non-landed at $6.93, and for District 2, you would have an average this month of $6.48. I'm very curious about the rental transactions in the sale. I have chosen that as the illustration. You know, the sale traditionally is like one of the first condos in that area that became very popular. So I would like to see what are the average rentals here in the sale. So the average rental in the sale is actually pretty decent, pretty high as well. I can see some figures here crossing $8 per square foot. Because of its location, even though it's a slightly older condo, you're still getting a pretty good rent from these areas. So that would be District 1 and 2, very popular among those business expatriates. We will move on to District 4. District 4 is actually the Harbourfront or Telok Blangah area, but for my illustration, I'm actually specifically looking more at the Harbourfront area because this is where you have Sentosa, and Sentosa also has one of my favorite condos just outside, a very iconic one. I'm sure you have seen in many of my videos, talking about Reflections at Keppel Bay. So the entire Keppel Bay area outside is actually part of the Harbourfront area, and what makes it so attractive to live there is because you have the lifestyle that Sentosa has to offer you. So if you stay anywhere outside in the Keppel Bay area, there is a very beautiful walkway outside your condo all the way to the VivoCity area, where you have a very big mega mall. Most of the things you can do there, you have a cinema as well, and not to forget, just beside Vivo, you have Harbourfront Centre. This is where you have the ferry terminals. You can go to Batam from here as well. So that offers another convenience. So from there, if you're going along the way to Sentosa, you can always take the monorail in VivoCity as well. It was in the news recently that the monorail is available to public for free. You can take the monorail into Sentosa instead of driving. One of the other things, not only from Sentosa perspective, but if you are a nature lover, there's a connector straight from Harbourfront MRT. You can walk all the way to the Southern Ridges. If you Google the Southern Ridges, I'm sure you will know what I'm talking about. You have Henderson Waves. It's another one of those places that are very iconic in Singapore. So you could actually take your morning walk there every day if you live somewhere around here. Because of what I've just mentioned, there are many perks of staying in this area in Harbourfront. So this is actually one of the reasons why a lot of expatriates enjoy the lifestyle there. And when I'm over there, I do see that they have many communities there as well. So they organize a lot of activities, and that's what makes them feel very comfortable there, and they end up staying there for a long time. So if I were to take a look at the average rents in this area for non-landed, it's about $5.71 in December, and it's around $5.08 this month in January. For illustration, let's take a look at reflections. It's not for me, you know, I'm just curious, just looking around at the reflections rental. So in the rental here, I see a lot of transactions actually at the $6 mark as well. So maybe because it's a very iconic condo, you are getting a better rent for this. But there are other options here as well. You have the Caribbean, which is one of the older condos. It's very big as well. The area inside is pretty big, slightly low rise compared to Reflections. You don't have tall buildings there, but it could be one of your options as well if you're looking to stay here, or even at the opposite side, there are some condos. If you don't want to stay so near to Sentosa, that could also be one of the options for you. So in general, this is also one of the kind of iconic places that expats or people who are renting like to look at. Lastly, on the last location, we have the East Coast. Now this is in District 15, and why this area is so popular for expats is because for those of you who are looking to stay close to the city but you want to have that space away from your work, now East Coast would be one of those options for the expats. We are very close to the East Coast Park, and that's where you have the area where you have the beach, and then you can actually cycle around there. You can do a lot of recreational activities there like barbecue. That's where a lot of people come together. That's one of the plus points of staying here in the east side. And of course, you do have certain neighborhoods that are of heritage interest, such as Juchiat. Now this is where you have the Kun Seng area, where you have the beautiful colorful shop houses and plenty of all those conservation houses with a lot of nice shops at the first floor. There has been quite a lot of transformation in this area as well. You do have a lot of shopping centers that have undergone massive renovations. It will be in for a treat if you are living here, with plenty to do and see in this area as well. You do have a lot of good schools here as well. You have Tao Nan School for primary school, and you have CHIJ Primary. Plenty of plus points of staying in the east side if you are one of those people who want to be closer to the airport as well. So East Coast could be one of your options. Now let's take a look at the average prices here for rent in terms of per square foot. If you're looking at East Coast, in December it was transacting about $5.16 per square foot. Right now it's going at about $4.72 per square foot for this month. I'm gonna pick for illustration the sea view, as it is one of the bigger condos here, and also because it's quite accessible, it is very convenient. It's near one of the malls as well. For this condo, the average is actually about $5 per square foot over here. If you're looking at the east side, you know, you're looking maybe to a change of environment, you want to stay further away from the center, East Coast could be one of the options for you. I'm sure you will grow to enjoy it as well, because I do have a lot of people who move here and they don't seem to move back to the center after that. Now that I've covered the 6 areas, one of the take-home messages or the conclusion I would like to give the people who are watching this video is, what I've done is I've actually collated the average rental in the entire Singapore and compared with all these districts that I have mentioned in the video. For those who are a bit on the price sensitive side and you would like to see which is sort of like the best value for money, it actually turns out that the average here in Singapore and the districts that are performing below average is actually District 15 now, and close to the average would be District 11. So if you are looking to rent and you're looking for something that is a bit more friendly to your pocket, you could be looking at these districts. Again, just a disclaimer, it really depends on the condo you end up choosing, because if it's a newer condo, no matter where you stay, you would be paying higher than the average of the neighborhood. If you are an investor or if you're somebody who's looking to invest in properties, you should be looking based on price. you would be looking at maybe District 1 and 2 because it is outperforming the rest of the districts in Singapore. So I hope this video has been very informative and it helps you to kind of understand why people are going for these districts in Singapore or these areas in Singapore. Of course, there are also other areas of interest in Singapore. If you have lived here long enough, you would know the plus points of living in different neighborhoods and why people choose to stay in different neighborhoods. But this video is more for those of you who are looking for a side-by-side comparison and also looking at what the prices are in the current market. So I hope this video has actually answered most of your questions. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I would be personally going through the comments to actually see if there's anything interesting, and if you would like to suggest some content on what are some of the topics in real estate that you're interested to know more about, do leave it in the comments as well. I'm Sharon from the Janys, and I'll see you on the next episode.